Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my new video where we are going to be going over my top 5 tips I think every single Kaisa player needs to know. Now, my goal behind this video is to make you a better League of Legends player, as well as to give you a better understanding of the champion as a whole. Put timestamps at every single point of the video. They're going to be up top, as well as the scrolling bar is going to be segmented with my different tips. If you want to contact me directly, I am going to put a pinned comment down below with my link to my Discord and my stream. If you want to send me a message there, I'd be happy to help you out. And as with all of these 5 tips videos, I'm a little bit limited with these formats, only able to do 5 tips because I don't want the runtime to be too long. So please make sure to add your own tips down below in the comments. And with all that out of the way, let's jump into tip number 1. Alright, and for tip number 1, we're just going to take a quick look at what runes and items you should be doing when you are looking to pick up Kaisa in the new season. Halo Blades is definitely a must-have when you are playing Kaisa because it enables you to really get a lot out of your passive, as well as it gives you a pretty strong early and mid-game rune that is very, very good for dueling at every single point in the game. Now, next up, we're going to want to go Taste of Blood to get a little bit more of extra healing and sustaining lane, because you are very item dependent with your evolve and just overall being in ADC, so you want to be able to stick around in lane as much as possible. I like Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, and then you can go a legend line based on what is needed. If you want just straight damage, attack speed's really good. If you are going against a lot of CC, Tenacity can be helpful, and if you want a bit more of sustain against maybe a really pokey type of matchup, the Bloodline that gives you more healing can be better. And then Presence of Mind is going to be a very nice rune to have because you are not going the Miramana build anymore. Now, you have 2 choices between mythic items. Kraken Slayer is my overall best pick. I think that it is a lot better than Gale Force for people that are just learning and starting to pick up the champion, and it is going to provide you with a massive amount of damage. The only time you might want to consider going something like Gale Force is if you are getting consistently dived and you have the micro that is required to successfully use that on a consistent basis. If you are unable to do that, or if you're just starting to learn to pick up the champion, Kraken Slayer is just going to be a very, very strong alternative. The core base of items are going to be Kraken Slayer, Runons, Collector, and Infinity Edge, and your last item is kind of really up to you, just dependent on the game state, whether you can just grab what you need for those different situations, whether it be Guardian Angel, or you can even go something like a Zonia's. I know you're not going AP Kaisa, but that is just such a broken item that it can really deny a lot of the divers in this very dive heavy meta. If you have any questions about this build, you can hit me up in the comments down below. You never get the evolved W, you always just rely on getting the evolved Q and E, and that will wrap up this tip. Alright, and getting into tip number 2, we're going to talk about Kaisa's strengths and how she can really punish space. The first tip I want to give you guys is your ability to really do a huge amount of damage from the outskirts of your auto attack range is going to be extremely important in lanes, particularly where they have a lot of damage and they're looking to chase you down, and lane bullies like a Draven or a Lucian that is looking to consistently trade against you with autos. How you would look to play this out: an extremely easy auto attack trade that is going to be very safe is using your Halo Blades procs, using your Q while walking out, and if they look to chase you, to continue the trade, punishing them with the W. What this W is going to be, how you can use it in this very safe trade pattern is you can either use it as a punish or a deterrent from them walking in a straight line and catching up with you. Because if you throw that W at them in the way that they are going to be walking, which is going to be obviously in the straightest line as possible to catch up with you, they're going to either have to dodge it, which will create you enough space to get away, or they are going to take a nice big chunk of damage, and they should already have a couple of stacks on them from the Halo Blades autos and the Q. So always keep this in the back of your mind when you are playing Kaisa and you are unsure if you are going to be able to win out on those trades. The next thing I want to talk about with creating space and how you should be looking to use your cooldowns is the Supercharge E. This should be really used in the most pivotal parts of your skirmishes, because what it's going to enable you to do is it's going to allow you to dodge skill shots and reposition in a way where you are going to get in a good spot. Now, you are unable to auto when you are supercharging, so using it when you are outside of using it to kind of get outside of the enemy's auto attack range can be quite an effective way to create space, whether you're chasing them down or running away. Just making sure that you can't be punished with autos while your E is up is going to be rather important, as well as understanding the windows of power in the enemy's setup. So something like a Morgana Q, using this to dodge it can be very important. So do not don't think that your supercharge is a really weak ability, because it is just so crucial in a lot of different setups when you are playing Kaisa. And that will wrap up tip number 2. All right, and for tip number 3, we are just going to go over some basic things to really help you land more W's and overall just get you more kills and snowball your lead just a little bit more when you are playing Kaisa. Now, number 1, when you are playing in the bot lane, you're playing Kaisa, you aren't doing something funny like mid or top. These are the kind of targets and setups you really want to look for to just get a guaranteed W, because you are limiting their ability to really dodge when they are against the wall. So all you have to do is lead them a little bit to the side where they can actually dodge, which is to the right, and it is pretty much a guaranteed W hit. So always look for targets that are hugging the walls. This is very common, particularly for enemy supports, to hug the walls and just look to punish them. All you need to do is make sure that you're in a straight line with them. You wouldn't want to be throwing this W from this way, because it is coming at an angle and they can be dodging in a couple of different situations. But if you line yourself up the line like that with them, it is going to land a hell of a lot more when you are playing Kaisa. Second thing, obviously throwing skill shots from Fog of War or from the bushes is going to be just a way to land a lot more W's. Next up, you can flash W targets, as well as using it to kind of curve it around enemy champions can be quite effective. All you have to do is start your W cast and then flash over, and you can hit that really valuable target and start diving into the back line if you are super fed. So those are a couple of different ways you can look to just land a lot more of your W's, as well as going something like a Farsight Alteration can be very helpful, because it will enable you to hit targets from allow you to get vision on targets that are pretty far away, as well as maybe bait them into autoing that blue ward and then throwing the W out on them, getting a nice free a bit of stacks, and maybe even something where you can snipe them out with the W and then catch them out in the jungle and just punish them there. So if you have any questions about how to land more W's and be more punished in lane, you can hit me up in the comments down below, and that will wrap up this tip. All right, and getting into tip number 4, the biggest pet peeve I have when I am playing Kaisa or playing with a Kaisa is usually there are placements and how they do it. It is something I think that is going to sound rather basic when I explain it, but it is something that I just see no players use to a very, very effective degree, and that is when you have a target that is marked up and you're looking to dash in on the R, use this whole circle. A lot of the times, particularly in low elo, you're just seeing people just throw out their R, just click as fast as they can on the enemy target wherever. You really want to look to plan out where you want the placement of your R and where you actually want to dash to. So you want to treat this circle as a kind of a big idea of what you are looking to do. If you're just looking to dodge out, maybe get a little bit of poke on someone, you don't really want to dive too far in, you don't have too much vision set up, you might get punished on the dive in. You do not want to be going too deep in the circle, so a placement like that might be a little bit better than, say, going on top of a target like that. Now, if you are R'ing in on the enemy target, have a good understanding of the enemy's kit, particularly if it's a melee champion that can punish you with a couple autos. What would be the point of taking a free 100 and 200 damage from a melee champion when you could just R in maybe a little bit out of their auto attack range and actually take full advantage of your range? Again, I know this sounds very, very basic, but it is extremely rare to see someone consistently use their R to the optimal level in the lower elos. Now, next up, a thing you want to understand is if you are looking to chase down the target a bit, obviously you want to cut off escape pass. Very common escape passes, they are just going to be headed towards the closest tower, or they're just going to be headed straight towards their nexus in that direction. So if you hit a W on someone, or if you have a couple stacks on someone, going right here and cutting off their escape route is going to be a very effective way to really punish the enemy. So really think before you are in. Don't just be a random kamikaze Kaisa where you're jumping in on something like maybe like a Master Yi and you're going right on top of them and you're doing it into Fog of War, and you are just going to get punished very, very heavily. So please make sure when you are using R to keep these things in mind, and that will wrap up tip number 4. Alright, and getting into the final tip, we are going to be talking about team fighting and how you want to look to play out the game. Now, when you are playing Kaisa, you do not want to use your R as an engagement unless you are insanely far ahead and you know that the enemy has very little threat on you. You are a hyper-scaling crit champion that can excel in front-to-back team fights because your ability to shred with mixed damage coming out of your kit. So you really want to play towards those strengths and using your R and E on against enemies that are looking to dive and have threat on you. The next thing I want you guys to understand, when you are playing Kaisa and doing this build, your Q is just an insane amount of damage when you are throwing it out. However, when it is able to hit a bunch of different targets, your damage is spread over those targets, which can not really, I don't think it's too beneficial. I think I'm of the school of thought that you really should be focusing down one target and try and get that threat wiped out of the team fight so you can start focusing on other champions as quickly as possible. So when you are looking to team fight, if you are able to, you want to get into a position where you are throwing all your Qs out onto one target and bursting one target out and then start working on the other ones. Because you are a very squishy champion, if you just get a bunch of champions just on top of you, say a bunch of tanks just start sitting on top of you and spamming their abilities, you are going to get destroyed. But if you are able to just take one target out of the equation very, very quickly, it is going to be in a very effective way to play out team fights. Now, ultimates are going to be extremely important. You want to make sure that you are not ulting in with a very high risk enemy ability still up. This would be something like a Fizz ultimate or a Syndra ultimate. You want to use your allies as a bit of just picture them as meat bags that can absorb a bunch of damage for you. Because you're playing an ADC, you really want to be as greedy as possible and be able to just pump out as much damage as possible in these games. So you do not want to just be diving out and giving high threat enemy champions an ability to burst you out. And that'll be my final tip, guys. If you have any questions for me, you can hit me up in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe. And as always, guys, take it easy.